Biometric Data Security Guidelines. 1. Applicability. This guideline applies to all associates employed by a Sysco entity, the company, who, in the course of performing their regular job responsibilities, are involved in the collection, use, handling, safeguarding, storage, retention, and destruction of biometric identifiers and biometric information, collectively, biometric data. 2. Purpose. The company recognizes the need to maintain the confidentiality of biometric data. Consequently, this guideline establishes requirements for the security, storage and protection of biometric data throughout the company. 3. Definitions. For purposes of this guideline, the following definitions shall apply. A biometric identifier includes a fingerprint, iris or retina scan, or a scan of hand or face. Geometry. Biometric identifiers do not include 1. Writing samples, written signatures, photographs, human biological samples used for valid scientific testing or screening, demographic data, tattoo descriptions, or physical descriptions such as height, weight, hair color, or eye color. 2. Information captured from a patient in a healthcare setting or information collected, used, or stored for healthcare treatment, payment, or operations under the Federal Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996, HIPAA. 3. An X-ray, MRI, PET scan, mammography, or other image or film of the human anatomy, used to diagnose or treat an illness or other medical condition or to further validate scientific testing or screening. B. Biometric information means any information, regardless of how it is captured, converted, stored, or shared, based on an individual's biometric identifier used to identify an individual. Biometric information does not include information derived from items or procedures excluded under the definition of biometric identifiers. C. Biometric data refers collectively to all biometric identifiers and biometric information.
4. Guidelines. A. Collection of biometric data by the Timeclock service provider. A third-party service provider under contract with the company provides Timeclock service provider, that collect biometric data and use it to authenticate individuals who are starting work, clocking in, or ending work, clocking out. The biometric data is converted to an encrypted mathematical representation that is stored on the timeclocks, which are located on the company's premises. The encrypted mathematical representation of the biometric data is also uploaded to a server, maintained by the Timeclock service provider. This server manages the biometric data stored on the timeclocks. For example, the server downloads the encrypted mathematical representation of the biometric data to new or replacement timeclocks. Before biometric data is collected from an individual, the individual will be provided the notice contained in Attachment A and must consent to the collection. The company does not store on its own servers any biometric data collected by the biometric timeclocks. Biometric data is securely stored by the Timeclock service provider and is encrypted when in storage and in transmission. 4. Guidelines continued. B. Collection of biometric data by the Timeclock service provider. Collection of biometric data by the company. If the company itself collects and stores an associate's or contractor's biometric data, the company would first provide a notice explaining the specific purpose of the collection of the biometric data, and obtain written release to the collection and storage. C. Prohibition on disclosure of biometric data. The company prohibits the sale, lease, or trade of biometric data. The company prohibits any disclosure of biometric data unless 1. The subject of the biometric data or the subject's authorized representative consents to the disclosure or redisclosure. 2. The disclosure or redisclosure completes a financial transaction requested or authorized by the subject of the biometric data or the subject's legally authorized representative. 3. The disclosure is required by state or federal law or municipal ordinance, or 4. The disclosure is required pursuant to a valid warrant or subpoena issued by a court of competent jurisdiction.
4. Guidelines continued. D. Security for biometric data collected by the company. To the extent the company itself may need to collect and store associates or contractors' biometric data, the company will store, transmit, and protect the biometric data using the reasonable standard of care within the industry and will implement administrative, technical, and physical safeguards for biometric data that are at least as stringent as the safeguards which the company has implemented for its other confidential information. In addition, biometric data in electronic form will be encrypted when in storage and in transmission. Paper documents containing biometric data, when unattended, will be stored in a locked filing cabinet, storage area, or office. Only associates with a legitimate business need may access biometric data. Authorized associates should avoid creating paper documents containing biometric data whenever possible. No associate may disclose biometric data to any third party without the prior authorization of the company's designated representative. 4. Guidelines continued. E. Retention of biometric data. All biometric data in the company's possession will be stored for the duration of the associate's employment or independent contractor's contractual term and will be destroyed promptly upon and, not longer than 1 year after, the following. 1. The employment termination date, in the case of an associate. 2. The contract termination date, in the case of an independent contractor. To the extent permitted by applicable law or required by court order, the company will direct the suspension of the destruction of biometric data when, and to the limited extent, necessary to satisfy the company's duty to preserve information that would be discoverable in litigation. The company will direct the Timeclock service provider to permanently destroy your biometric data.
4. Guidelines continued. F. Destruction of biometric data. Paper documents containing biometric data will be shredded or burned. Biometric data in electronic form will be destroyed in a manner that renders the information irretrievable. The company's human resources and information technology departments shall be responsible for directing the destruction of such information upon expiration of the retention period described in paragraph E, above.
5. Consequences of noncompliance. Violations of this guideline or its procedures will result in disciplinary action up to and including termination of employment. Guideline review and revision. This guideline shall be reviewed annually or more frequently as required by changes in legal, regulatory, or Sysco requirements, or to correct identified deficiencies. This guideline supersedes all previous versions.